here's Harry. Finally got a lot of leaves about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and seems pretty happy. I did cut down the rabbit barrier a bit because I drove in front of the house and saw that it looked like an upended mesh wastebasket, so it didn't look too good. So I hid it behind this little decorative fence here. Looks a little better. The Harry's going to be in there for a long, long time, so might as well make it look pretty. And what else do we have here? My new cranberry that I bought to replace the one that died on me, and sitting under a big old pine tree. I'm going to have the bottom branches taken off so that these berry bushes can get more sun, and next year maybe they'll produce some berries. That's a blueberry bush that I planted this year, and of course everything's planted this year, and another blueberry. This is a cranberry that got eaten to the ground by a rabbit. It was doing really well, and the rabbit came along and mowed it down, so now it's underneath one of my patented protective covers, and it's making a comeback. I was going to replace it, but I think it'll be okay. And this is a pink blueberry that didn't do anything this year, but I'm hoping next year it will. And over here, what have we got? We have rhododendrons that I planted yesterday, and they are going to be needing to be mulched because it is a lot more sunny here than I thought, and they need a lot of water, and the water's just evaporating straight away. It's very, very hot out right now. I took out that thing I thought that was poison ivy. Actually, there's some of it growing over there. It turned out to be goutweed. I submitted some pictures to a botanist, and that was her verdict. So I pulled it out. This area was full of that goutweed yesterday, and I pulled that out. I'm going to have to keep pulling for a couple of years because it does keep coming back. And there's my lone remaining trillium. The other two got killed. There's full goutweed out of here too. And what else have we got? I am going to be putting a lot more ferns in here. I like hostas, but there are so many of them here. I'm going to probably take all these out and put them under the shagbark hickory down there by the street, because there's nothing but weeds growing outside the fence there. I don't know what this is. I've seen these before. They were here, so I let them grow. Kind of pretty. And that's a parsley fern that I put in this week. Hopefully it will take. And here's some more garbage. It's a lot of goutweed there, and some irises. A lot more goutweed. And here I put in a calla lily that someone gave me when I retired from my job. And here, those are volunteers. I'm guessing it's some kind of squash. Doesn't really look like a cucumber. Kind of too big. Be a real nightmare if it turns out to be zucchini. I don't like zucchini, but we'll see. There's my mini rose. I had to cover it because it's blooming. It's trying to bloom, but every time it tries to bloom, the rabbit comes along and lops the bloom off. Those are some marigolds that came up from seed. And what's this here? That is my Sarah Bernhardt peony, which He's been looking kind of unhappy lately. Let's see here. And here's my poor little lilac. It's hanging in there. But it's going to be a few years before we see any flowers out of that one. And that stone crop, which I took a cutting of. We have a big one here at the side of the house that I took that cutting from. I'm going to let it bloom and then I'm going to rip it out because it's behind my favorite rose bush, Earth Angel, which probably won't bloom this year, but trying to get it established. And over here, in the process of dying, I think this was a Queen Anne's lace. I did water it with some 20 proof vinegar, horticultural vinegar, and it's slowly killing it. Little pink lavender that I found. Put that in. Here's Heirloom. Heirloom was one of the ones I got out of a bargain bin at Menards. I think it was Menards. Yeah. And it's finally starting to sprout. It took over a month to start to sprout. Really not a happy rose bush, but we'll try to make it happy. So we're getting some good leaves on it now. Let's see here. I'm going to take this boxwood out, and once the house has the new siding on it, I'm going to put a climbing rose there. And over here we have Quietness. It's another new rose I put in. Quietness was named in honor of September 11. It's a fairly recent rose, and seems to be doing okay. I got these from Chambly Nursery online. I'm finding that you find a lot better roses online than you do in the stores. This is Mary Rose. This is at the southeast corner of the house. Southeast corner of the house. Doesn't get sun all day, but Mary Rose is kind of equipped for that. And there's another lavender I put in. I don't know if that's a hardy one. It doesn't look like a hardy lavender flower to me, but I'll give it a try, see what happens. Here's the fairy. This was my first find in the Menards bargain bin. It is sprouting beautifully, but it's not blooming. Has a lot of growing to do because the fairy is not supposed to be that small. And over here, this is some newfangled grass that doesn't grow very tall. I put it along the garden bed here. Hopefully I won't have to come along here with clippers very often. Yeah. Over there, that's the neighbor's lilac bushes underneath a maple tree, and they're never going to bloom again. But they're the neighbors. There's nothing I can do about it, and that ugly fence is the neighbors too. What I am going to do is put some boulders along here because there's a lot of strange driving going on. And I'm convinced that sooner or later somebody's going to end up in my house. I'm at the top of a T intersection, and some people just barely, there's a lot of U-turns going on here, and some people just barely make it. So I'm going to put some boulders up, and also a rose bush that can survive under that big tree, that big maple tree. And again, it was only available online. I have no next door neighbors right now. Everybody moved out last Saturday. I didn't do anything. One family sold their house. They just decided the neighborhood was too noisy for their baby, and and all that, so they moved into another town. And the other people were renting, and all of a sudden their landlord made a decision that affected them, and they left. So that's the way it's going. So it's nice and quiet right now. Here I have a problem. These are garden salsa peppers. They're supposed to be less spicy than your average spicy pepper, but I tried one on a pizza, and see that big one there? Not quite. Tried one on a pizza, and it's a little too spicy for me, so I don't know how I'm going to get rid of them. I'm looking for someone that accepts donations of backyard produce. I know in my old town you used to be able to go to the YMCA and donate, but here I don't know. There's some giant carrots growing behind the peppers, and there's Black Beauty. Finally getting bigger. Nowhere near ready to bloom yet. And that's the ugly tomato here. It has a tomato on it, I think. I think that's a tomato. Here we have the chocolate sprinkles, cherry peppers, and got lots of cherry peppers, and they're falling out of the, not falling out, but they're starting to climb, which is, or crawl, or whatever you call it. So I'm letting them do it. Here is the giant plant. This is, what tomato is this? This is a giant tomato and a giant plant. I don't see too many tomatoes on here. I think I saw one, but I don't know where it is now. Let's see. What's this called? Delicious or something? Sorry about the camera. Well, there's a couple tomatoes right there. I think it's called the delicious tomato. Let's see. Delicious. Come on. Well, whatever. It's supposed to be a giant tomato. There's some African basil. And over here, this is, oh, what the heck is it? Got a couple of tomatoes on it. I forgot what it is. Indigo rose. Indigo rose has got tomatoes on it. And the plant is kind of small. I think it's because it's not getting enough light because it's next to this monster here. There's my potatoes. They're starting to bloom. I used to cut the blooms off, but you know, they're pretty. And besides, it doesn't seem to make any difference, so I don't do that anymore. I just let them bloom. 2 bags of potatoes here, different kinds of potatoes. And here's another bag half full of potatoes, and on the other side we've got some Danvers half-long carrot. And this one I gave up on. I didn't think any potatoes were going to come up, so I planted giant carrots, which are coming up nicely. And then look what happened. Here comes a potato, and there's a potato. So we're going to have a lot of potatoes. Strawberries aren't doing too hot. I'm not real impressed with quinault. There was a strawberry on here, but it's gone. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. And I think a rabbit could reach up there. Probably just fell off. Maybe a bird took it. And over here we have our onions. One of them's really starting to bulb out down there, which is great. I usually end up with a bunch of green onion type things at the end of the season. I don't do well with roots. root vegetables. Here's my salad garden in a little round fabric container. And I'm going to make my first salad from this tomorrow. Lots of, those are the giant radishes there. And here, these are regular radishes. I'm going to wait a few more weeks before I try to pull them, because I always pull them too soon. Like I said, I don't do well with root vegetables. Cucumber. Look, cucumber. That was from one of those pods that Burpee sells. And they're guaranteed to grow and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's growing. The yellowish ones here are, what's that pumpkin I was growing? I don't remember. It's a short vine pumpkin that gets fairly large. And I've forgotten the name. Oh well. I think the mistake I made with these, I was getting impatient for them to start growing and grow out of their seedling stage, and I did splash some fertilizer on them, and I think that's why they're yellow. But they are trying to make a comeback, so I'm not too worried. So, let's see. I don't know. Do some weeding here while we think of what the name of this pumpkin was. Over here, we have red warty things. I happened to find a packet of red warty things a couple weeks ago, and I threw them in, and they are coming up big and strong and healthy. Okay. Here's some more of my short vine pumpkins that for some reason I can't remember the name of right now. And more short vine. The only Amish pumpkin I think came up is this one here. Put my hand there so I know what I'm looking at. Yeah, that's the only one that came up out of all those seeds I had. I had like 7 seeds, and the rest of them didn't come up. And there's my pumpkin that I'm drawing a blank on right now. I'll put the name down in the description of the video because I cannot remember. And some more red warty thing down here. You can tell because that's big and strong and healthy. There we go, more short vine. More short vine and more red warty thing. Short vine, red warty thing, and lots of red warty thing in one short vine. And here's the rest of the garden. I'm going to cover it over with topsoil and some more broken down moving boxes. And over here we got our milkweed coming up. I've never had luck with milkweeds before, but this one seems to be doing okay. And over here we have from seed, so it's some warning glories to cover the ugliness of my compost heap. Ugly compost heap, more morning glories. These are all volunteer tomatoes, billions and billions. I think these are probably cherry tomatoes, just by the way that the flowers are. And as for the asparagus, we've got some back here. We have some Jersey Giant, and in front of that we have purple passion that came up from a root, and purple passion that came up from seed. Just here. Got a lot of those. Well, not a lot, but a fair number. And hopefully next year we'll have a couple of spears of asparagus to eat. Now here, I'm hoping that is Canterbury bells. I hope. Over here we have some more morning glories, and then once again they're covered with one of my patented rabbit banishers because the rabbits were chewing the morning glories down to the ground. And look what I had to do to my sunflowers over here. Put a little fort around them, and over here put a little netting around them. And this is my new sedum garden. I might even put a hardy cactus in here because I noticed kids from the school across the street during the school year will use this as a shortcut, and I'm not too pleased with that. So mainly because, you know, you get kids on your property and they get hurt and all of a sudden it's your fault. So I might put a gate here with the ugly fence over there, and just a gate of some kind to keep them out and keep them from stepping on my sedums. This is something that was already growing here, and I just transplanted it to this little garden here. This is something I bought, Capo Blanco, and another Capo Blanco. I've got a few of those, and that's one I've got a couple of. It flowers. There's really pretty flowers on it. This is a hens and chicks. I never have luck with hens and chicks. This one is looking a little bit peaked around the base there. We'll see if it makes it. I don't know what this is, but let's see. Chocolate ball sedum. Seems to be pretty happy. Here's another one. I transplanted this one from the front. I had put it in the front and it wasn't getting enough sun. It seems pretty happy here. Here's another hens and chicks that looks miserable. Maybe it'll take, I don't know. And this is a Chinese sedum. It's supposed to have good fall color. The thing I noticed with sedums, sedums, is you have to be really careful at the garden shop to make sure that the sedums are hardy. They sell a lot of sedums that are not hardy. Why, I don't know, but you know, people are just going to get mad because they're going to die during the winter. And here they're being sold as perennials. All of those are supposed to be hardy. Okay, here is the green pepper. I don't know if it's going to make it. It's so late. And these are the round cucumbers that I got from somebody in Europe. And that's another seed pod cucumber from Burpee. More seed pod cucumbers from Burpee. And over here, I think those are the Tam jalapenos. I'm gonna have to get those transplanted. It's so hot out here, you kind of hate to do anything, but they're gonna need to be transplanted soon. And again, they might not make it, so you never know. So not much progress in the garden, a little bit. Let's look at this and think about my salad. So that's all for this week, and I'll see you next week.